Hi, and welcome to my channel. My name is Amanda. This is Skeeter. Normally you guys see Django, but I left my office to go to the bathroom, and when I came back, Skeeter was in my chair trying to get on my table because she thinks there's food up here. So, there's not, though, but she was trying to get on the desk, so she had to say hi. Meanwhile, Django's losing his mind because I was holding her. So come on. So here's Django for his hi. He also thinks there's food. I mean, in all fairness, there was food up here earlier, but it's gone now because I ate it. So it was my breakfast and now it's gone. Anyway, both of them are convinced that there's something up here for them to eat. But that's not what we're here for. We're here to do the weekly wrap up. Do you ever have those weeks where you're reading a lot of things? Maybe you don't, because my neighbor said to me yesterday, she said, do you read more than one book at a time? And I was like, yes. And she was like, how? So anyway, she reads one book at a time, but I read multiple. And sometimes, like this week, they all get finished at the same time. So I've finished like 7 books this week, but I didn't read them all in a week, if that makes sense. So quite a few of them I've been talking about in these updates just because I've been reading them. So I'm not going to go into a ton of detail about them. Also, in my January wrap-up, I'm going to talk about every book I read in more detail. But let's start with the first thing I finished, which was Stormfront by Jim Butcher. And this one I had started last week, or I was starting it on the day that I filmed last week. And this is book 1 in the Dresden Files series. So I read the 2 short stories and the graphic novel that came before this in the read-along that we're doing over on Leslie's Discord, the Nerdy Narrative Discord. So I will continue on in February. I think we're reading another graphic novel and a short story and a novel in February. But then in like March and April, we're only reading a novel that month. So anyway, she has the first 6 months planned out over there on her Discord if you guys want to check it out. Then I finished 2 of the books for the self-published sci-fi competition. I finished Hammer and Crucible, and I finished Aestus. I guess you say it Aestus. I don't know. That's how I've been pronouncing it. That might not be right, but that's how I've been saying it. Anyway, they were 2 of my favorites in the whole thing. So I love that I finished them both right here at the end. We had to have all of our scores turned in a couple of days ago. So everybody on our team got their scores done. And I'm going to talk about them more at the end of the month. But Aestus was fantastic. I hated that it was so good because it's so long. So it's one of those books that I'm like, oh, I hate that we're sending it forward to the next round. Even I don't know that we are because not everybody's votes are in, but I would definitely send it forward. And I think it's funny that we're sending it forward to the next round, and it has 700 pages in it. So it is a very long book, but it was very good. And it actually went really quickly. I think it only took me like 3 days to read it, and somebody on our team read it in like 2 days because it just goes so fast and it's movement happening all the time, so it doesn't feel like it's 700 pages. Anyway, there is a second book in the duology, and I will be picking that up in the future. As far as Hammer and Crucible goes, it was a epic sci-fi, like out in space sci-fi. Maybe they call those space operas. I don't know that that's exactly what it was, but it was at its core, it was a book about a mystery. Like they were trying to solve a mystery, and all kinds of things jumped up. There were things I didn't see coming. There were things I predicted, but the big turn I did not see. Then I finished the last 2 books on my January TBR. So if you saw that video where I used my Bookopoly board for the first time and I rolled the 5 rolls and I got 5 books, I have already read 3 of them and I finished the last 2 this week. So the first one was, I have to look at the title because it's so long, The Extremely Inconvenient Adventures of Bronte Mettlestone by Jacqueline Moriarty. Now, I thought that this was fantastic. Like, it was just so cute. It was one of those middle grade fantasies that just make you feel good. And even though horrible things happened, or horrible things happened to Bronte that you think would be horrible, she was just like, oh, it's okay. That's how it is. And just kept going. So I don't know. It was so good. But at the same time, there are things that happen in this book. And so I liked it. I liked the twists and turns that it took. And I thought that it was really good. And the last of my January TBR books that I read was Blood's Echo by Isabella Maldonado. Now, this is the first book in her Veranda Cruise series. And Veranda Cruise series was written before the other one that I can't remember, but I'm all caught up on her other series. And so I knew I liked her writing and I wanted to read it. So I started Blood's Echo as the Veranda Cruise, and I love it. And so I will definitely be continuing with this series. And I saw that she has another series that just started. I don't know if she's planning to just do these in small series, like 3 or 4 books per person that she's following or not, but I'm here for whatever. However she wants to do it and whatever way she wants to do it, she is one of my favorites. And then the last book that I finished was one that I was not planning to read, but you can see this stack of books behind me. Those are the ones I've hauled in the last couple of weeks. And I just have them sitting back there for whenever I want to read them. I have a small haul today, so I'm going to be moving some of those and putting them where they go. But anyway, I was doing a weekend read-along mini Star Hop challenge is what it was called, with Stephanie from Stephanie's Bookverse on her Patreon. We were doing it, and she rolled like a 5-star prediction was one of the ones that we were supposed to pick and read. So I looked through what I had left for the month, and I was like, I don't know that any of those are a 5-star prediction. And I walked by that shelf over there, and I saw Heartstopper, and I was like, oh, I'm getting this. So I picked it up and I read it during the weekend reading things, mini Star Hop. That's how she does her TBR, as a Star Hop. I'll link her below if you guys haven't been to her channel. I love watching her pick her books to read for the Star Hop challenge. Anyway, I read Heartstopper. I started and finished in the same night, of course. It's not very difficult. I did leave my cards in here so I could remember that I got this from Fina. It says, wishing you happy holidays and a happy new year. Hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. So I loved that she sent me this, and I already have volume 2, which is back there behind me. This pretty much ends on a cliffhanger. So if you are planning to pick it up, you might want to go ahead and grab the second one too. So I still haven't read number 2, but I want to, because it, again, ends on a cliffhanger. But that was the only thing I read this week that was not like already on my radar. So now let's talk about what I'm currently reading. I am currently reading Royal Assassin by Robin Hobb. That's the book that Andrew and I are currently on. That's going to go over into February, so I'll be talking about that next week as well. I'm also still reading Game of Thrones. I have made it further. I've now gotten past the 200-page mark. And so I have another blog post that will be up probably the end of this week, so in a couple days from when you see this. And there are, how many pages? Almost 700 pages. So there will be 7 blog posts total. I did like an entry blog post, and then I did a 100-page and now a 200-page. So I'm slowly making my way through it. I'm trying to just read like 100 pages a week because I don't want to get too quickly with it, to get going too fast with it and not know what's happening. But at the same time, I don't want to go so slow that I forget what's happened before. So it's not like it's difficult to keep up with. But I did decide after doing this, I'm going to give Steven Erikson a try again. I know it's called Dead House Gates, I think is book 1. I read the first 2 books last year, but I did them strictly on audio, and I was so confused about who was who and where they were. I know that it has some of the biggest cast of characters of any like epic fantasy series. So I'm going to try it again, and I'm going to do it like this because this has made it so easy for me to keep up with who everybody is, where they are, when they're talking, and what's going on with them. And I love it. I like the denseness of the experience, I guess. I'm loving it. My current audiobook is Festive in Death, which is just the next In Death book, and it's about Christmas. in her life. So that's it. And the last one that I'm currently reading is Gwendy's Button Box. And I have an entire week to read this book. I'm done with my January TBR books, and I'm just trying to enjoy the week. I'm trying to watch more things instead of reading constantly. I know this is not a problem for a lot of people. A lot of people want more reading time in their life, and I'm trying to make less reading time, but that's just how I cope with things, is reading. And so it's a bad thing for me to read all the time. So I am slowly making my way through Gwendy's Button Box, and I really like it. I'm hoping that I'm just going to finish it by this weekend. And so next week I'll be able to talk to you about what I thought about it. Right now I've read 2 chapters. I think Gwendy is cute, and we will see what happens. I'm sure bad things are going to happen. Now, what is coming up next? So when I finish Gwendy's Button Box, which is my physical read right now, I'm going to go on into The Pale Dreamer. This is the first thing in February that we're reading for the Bookstara Readalong. And if I finish Gwendy this weekend, then I'm like 2 days away from February. February starts on Wednesday, so I might get a couple days head start on The Pale Dreamer. But another thing is I'm not doing any readathons, readathons, or anything. So I can start these books whenever I want to. Nobody is the boss of me in February. Anyway, so I'm going to be starting The Pale Dreamer next when I finish Gwendy. And then when I finish Festive in Death, which is my audiobook, I have 2 options. If I finish it early this week, because I'm already like 65% of the way through. So if I finish it like today or tomorrow, I'm probably going to start Song of Susannah and do that one next, which is the next book in the Dark Tower read-along, where I am in the read-through of the Dark Tower. So that means I have 2 books. I have Song of Susannah and then the Dark Tower left. That's it. So I'm excited to finish it up, but at the same time, I'm like, So anyway, Song of Susannah will be my next book if I finish Festive in Death in the next couple of days. If I don't finish Festive in Death until the beginning of next week, I'm going to go ahead and start reading Real Murders, which is one of my TBR books for February, because I have already checked out 3 of the books from my library on my Libby app, and they're going to be due in 21 days. And so I need to start on them as soon as possible in February so that I can finish them up before they're due back to the library. Anyway, none of that matters except Song of Susannah I own. So I can read that whenever. I don't have to start that next. But if I have time at the end of this month, I'm going to read Song of Susannah before I start Real Murders. But that's going to be the next one. Okay, question time. There are a couple of questions. Number 1, someone has requested that I go more in depth in the Gerbit-a-thon and like breaking down what all the wants and needs and skills and all of that means. So let me know if you're also interested in that, because I was thinking about just doing it as a private video and putting it over on her Discord and just telling her that it's over there if anybody wants like information on how it works. Or if more people want to hear about it over here on the channel, I'll put it over here on the channel. So you guys can let me know. The other thing is I have 2 videos that I want to film, but they're both kind of in depth. So if you guys don't want to see them, then I'm not going to film them. I'll just do it in the background and not waste time filming and editing and all that stuff. So one of them is going to be every physical book that I own. I noticed that there are a couple of booktubers who share a video at the beginning of every year that says every physical book that I own. And then people comment below and say what they think they should read. Now, there is one person that I was watching the other day, and I did not write down who this person is, and I'm sorry about it, but they put all of those comments in a spinner wheel and just randomly pick one comment each month, and then that's the book that they read. I actually want to say that it was Becca from Becca and the Books, but I don't know if that's right, and I don't want to say that it was, and it might not be. So anyway, I want to do something like that where I put all the physical books that I own that I have not read in one video, and then you guys comment below what you think I should prioritize first, and then those books will go into a separate like spinner thing for me to spin anytime I need like a next book to read. Like when I've finished my TBR and I've got the books done and I'm just like mood reading for the end of the month, I would like to be able to spin those because I do want to get these physical books done that are on my shelves. that's one of the longish like videos that I want to do. The other one is all the series that I'm currently reading. So that there's a lot of them. And I don't want to go through and figure them all out. And I've got them in multiple different places. And so I need to consolidate them anyway, which I'm going to do. But I won't be doing all of that on camera if you guys don't want to see it. But I know some people put out their currently reading series and all that kind of stuff. So if that's something that is interesting that you guys want to see, I will definitely film it. I just am not going to go through the trouble of filming it if nobody really cares about watching it. So let me know what you think about those videos, watching them or not watching them, or on the channel or not on the channel. And I will do that going forward. Okay, let's end this with a book haul. So while my parents were here, my mother loves to go thrifting. And so I went to some thrift stores with her, and we went to Goodwill, and I got one book. I got Paper Towns by John Green. I've read a few John Green fiction books, and I have the Anthropocene Reviewed, which I have not read yet. It's on my list. But this one just jumped out, and I was like, okay, I'm going to get this. This is not one that I've read. I don't know anything about it. It's got a map and a pin on it, and it's called Paper Towns. So I'm excited. It says winner of the Edgar Award. Honestly, I don't even know what the Edgar Award is, so I might have to check that out before I read it and find out what the award is. Then I went to Books A Million, and they had a buy two, get one free. So I bought 6. Really, I guess I bought 4 and I got 2 free, but here they are. And it was only on a few tables that they had sitting out front. So it wasn't every paperback in the whole store, but it was the larger paperbacks and not mass market. Okay, so 2 of them are similar. They're both a meant to be novel, and I'm not even sure what that means, but they're definitely ones that I've heard of or seen around either on Instagram or somewhere. And so this is By the Book by Jasmine Guillory, I think is how you say her name. Anyway, this one, I don't know, because I don't read what they're about, although the front says, this fairy tale rom-com mashup is total magic. And I was like, okay, I'll take it. The other one in the Meant to Be series is called If the Shoe Fits by Julie Murphy. And this one, again, I don't know anything about. If the shoe doesn't fit, maybe it's time to design your own, is what it says on the back. That's all I know. And I was like, okay, I'm going to pick this up. Then, to be sticking with the whole romance theme, I'm not even sure if this is romance, but anyway, it's called Extra Witchy by Anne Aguirre. And it says, can a woman who doesn't believe in forever find true love with a man who stopped believing in anything at all? So I guess, yes, it is a romance. So those are my 3 romances. Then I just started finding things based on the cover. That's not true. I got this one because it's been on my TBR for a really long time. Nosferatu by Joe Hill. I have this in audio on... It must be on Audible. It's either there or Chirp. And I've had it for a while because I got it on sale one time. And I had no idea that it was a TV show now. It says now an AMC original series. No, I didn't know that. But anyway, now I have the book. And then I got this strictly because of the cover. Okay, it's called Outlawed by Anna North. Oh, apparently it's a Reese's Book Club. I didn't know that either. But anyway... It says, the story of a fugitive girl, a mysterious gang of robbers, and their dangerous mission to transform the Wild West. That just sounded fun. So I was like, okay, I'll pick that up. And then this one says, Warm and Charming, but I picked it up because of the cover. The Authenticity Project by Claire Pooley. Now here's what it says on the back. The story of a solitary green notebook that brings together 6 strangers and leads to unexpected friendship and even love. So that just sounded cool to me. I love all the books on the cover. So I was like, I'm picking this up. So if you have read any of those books, let me know. I'm very interested to hear your thoughts on them. Again, there's 6 books that I know almost nothing about. I know more about Nosferatu, but that's because it's just been on my radar a lot longer. So I would love any information on any of them. Is there one that I should put ahead of the rest? Should I just put them all on my shelf or keep some of them out for later? As always, if you want to see some of the crazy things that we did around my house this week, or just normal for us things around my house, stick around after this for pictures. That is all for today. I know this has kind of been a long one and a little bit more rambly maybe than usual. So I will see you guys in my next update next week. Thanks for watching. Bye.